Today we're going to be replacing our stock 3-dot 10-point crossbow scope and replacing it with a really nice, really high-tech crossbow scope from Hawke Optics. They were nice enough to send one over for us to try out, so we're going to take and get this thing mounted up and then get it out, get it sighted in and ready for bow season, which for me starts very shortly. The main difference in the scope as opposed to the 3-dot system is its crosshairs. They're illuminated reticles. They are there even if you don't have it turned on. You still have crosshairs to shoot from, even if you don't need the lights turned on. And below your crosshairs is a set of posts that work out to 100 yards, which is a really long shot for a crossbow, which I will never hunt at that range, but it might be fun to take a shot or two. But you can calibrate this to the speed of your crossbow, and then once that's done, you're ready to go, which is really, really nice. So that's what we're going to do, and then we're going to get it out, get it sighted in, and ready to go for our season. The biggest difference between what I'm putting on and what I'm taking off is the scopes that come from a lot of these companies are made to go right on a scope rail. Most 3-dot systems are, whereas the scope that I'm putting on is a true 1-inch tube scope. So I'm going to have to go back, I'm going to have to put rings on just like I would a rifle or a handgun that uses a scope system rather than a quick point, aim point, one of those that comes with the integral bases. So that's all it's going to take. It's a screwdriver, 2 screws, put that on, then we can mount it up just like any other scope and get it ready to go. So let me get started. I'm going to get this other scope off here, and then we're going to show you how to mount this new one up. Now hopefully, well, as I knock the camera down, all I have to do with this scope, and I'm really fond of this little scope. I've killed several deer using it, but it's time for something new. And again, this is on a Weaver style scope rail, and that's it. We're done. I'm going to go and get the other mounts, get them put on, and get this scope mounted. After getting this scope on here, I realized that there is a difference in this. I had to modify my scope rings, just a small mount, because the mount that I have on hand is wider from this point to this point than the scope is from this point to this point. So it was actually setting on top of the rings here. It wouldn't seat. So, you know, to me that was a simple fix. All I did was take and mill the edge of this off and this off, basically sand it down a little bit. Didn't take much, just cut the ends of each of these off just a tiny bit. It doesn't affect it. It's not going to hurt a thing, but it had to be done so that the rings would actually fit down into, or the scope would actually fit down into the rings. Once that's done, I will go back now and I will have to do the top of the rings the same way. I just want to make sure this would fit, and it does. So now I'm going to sand the edge of these on the top off, get it mounted on. I've already got it set up. After a quick trip back to the shop for some little bit of modification on my rings, which this is not normal, I'll tell you that right now. Don't panic. This could have been fixed with a different base. This is a Weaver style base. I could have replaced it, but my problem is I live out in the middle of nowhere, which would have meant like wasting a half a day or more out looking for a different mount for this and hoping I found one. So rather than doing that, I just did a little quick modification, which I'm comfortable with. That does not mean you will ever have to do it or that you are comfortable doing it, but Once that's done, the scope sets on there perfectly. I said it could be a little bit forward, but that's fine. We're good where we are. So, simple set of Allens that everybody should have handy if you're working on this stuff. And a flathead screwdriver. A few minutes, and now this thing is ready to go out to the range and get it sighted in. And I will go over it more, but this scope is set up to do two things. One, you have your normal turrets right here for adjusting your bolt flight. Once those are set at 20 yards and your arrows, or your bolts, excuse me, your bolts, these are not arrows, are flying where you want them to, you back up to a measured 30 yards, and this ring back here, not only is it your power for your scope, because this is an adjustable powered scope, but you also have a ring set back here that adjusts the speed. And you don't need to know what the exact speed of your bow is. You look at the directions, that they have a nice set that comes with them that explains how to use this ring, and it's really simple. If you're hitting too high at 30 yards, you turn it up so that it shows that your bow is faster. If you're hitting low, you turn it down till your arrow hits dead on at 30 yards, and you're good to go. The scope is adjusted to the weight and the speed of your bolts. You're ready to take it to the woods and kill a deer. Really simple, no big deal. Even with the modifications that I had to do, it just took me a couple of minutes. So again, thanks for stopping in and watching how I do things in the woods. And special thanks to Hawke Optics for sending me over this scope to use. And we're going to put this thing to use here very shortly. Again, my season starts in 1 week. Hopefully this thing's going to be putting some meat on the ground this year. Thanks again for stopping by.